Good afternoon, everybody. It's really great to be here face-to-face after a year and a half of giving talks in virtual conferences. I'm sure all of us fed up with virtual conferences, so it's really great to have at least hybrid conference. So I'm Michal Braverman-Blumenstyk, Corporate Vice President at Microsoft, Global CTO of Cloud and AI Security, and the CEO of Microsoft Israel R&D Center. Have few hats, and I love all of them. So, I have a confession to make. In addition to being a technology geek, I'm also history buff. Specifically, I'm really fascinated and intrigued by World War II history. And I see a lot of similarities between COVID-19 and World War II. It's like COVID-19 is not a war, it's like a world war. And what do I mean? I don't mean that it has all the atrocities and the evil forces that happened in World War II, but World War II, the world after World War II, in 8th of May 1945, when the war finished in Europe, the world was completely different than the world in the 1st of September 1939. From political aspect, sociology, but especially technology, medicine, and everything. And the world actually made a lot of progress, and technology just soared. Let's look at some of the things. So first of all, the computer, as we know it. And this was a result of the research that happened in Bletchley Park when Alan Turing and his friends were working in order to decipher the German enigma. And penicillin. Penicillin became in mass production in order to help the soldier, in order to make sure that they don't have infection, and many others, the radar, and TV as we know it, and airlines, the depressurized cabin was invented then, and many others. So the world became a much better place after World War II. And I'm optimistic that even though we are still experiencing COVID-19, the world is going to be a much better place after that. But first, let's see what has happened from cyber point of view during the pandemic. So, COVID-19, a huge and horrible health pandemic, but it created also a cyber pandemic. Why? Because the cyber criminals are very business-oriented. They always identify opportunity, business opportunity to make more money. And what happened during the pandemic, that all of a sudden, hundreds of millions of people had to start working from home. And it was from one day to the other. So the high-tech and some parts of the government were ready to work remotely, and the remote workers were secure. But many parts of the industry were not. And that was a great opportunity for the criminals to attack them, because they're like predators after the prey. They identify an opportunity, they always will use it. So and we see it, okay? We see that what you see here is the number of ransomware, and this is actually something that we monitor closely in Microsoft. And as you can see, it's like surge, it's exponential growth when the pandemic started. Another thing is the healthcare. Again, cyber criminals have no ethics, have no morality, and they will, again, use any opportunity. And as you can imagine, the healthcare industry was very vulnerable because they needed their engines, they needed their systems in order to function 24/7. And that was, for the criminals, a great opportunity to have to do ransom attacks against them. And again, and as you can see, it grew a lot, by 55%. Another interesting thing is that not only the criminals became more active, but they became much more creative and innovative. How do we know that? Because they generated a lot of new attacks, attacks that were not seen before, a lot of zero-day attacks and just a lot of new attack vectors. So it was a very blossoming period for the criminals, those, of course, that didn't get COVID-19. However, good thing, so this is what happened in the cyber pandemic. But as always, and this is very similar and another parallelism to World War II, the crisis always generated a lot of technological advancement and a lot of innovation in order to recover, in order to beat the crisis. And we see that the digital acceleration, and we see it in adoption of the cloud and adoption of many technologies, things that took years before, took weeks and sometimes days in order to adapt. And again, that's the result of a crisis. Let's look at some specific examples. So first of all, the remote workforce. And this is things that will stay for us after the pandemic, not just during the pandemic. The workforce and the hybrid workforce, now people are used to work from home and to go to the office, and this flexibility will increase productivity and will bring many more people to the workforce, people from the periphery, people, parts of the population that didn't participate in the workforce before now can participate. So this is workforce. And another thing is remote medicine. Again, this is the result of a constraint because the doctors could not go and treat the patients. And sometimes it was dangerous. So there was a lot of new developments that happened and still happening in remote medicine by robotics and other means, so the doctor doesn't have to be in the same room with the patient. And consumption, because people could not go to the stores, so the stores had to go to them. A lot of delivery, but not just what we know, but also automatic deliverments like robotics and drones, etc. And all those great advancements and many more are here with us to stay post-pandemic and to make our life much better. So this is, we see great step for humanity, a lot of advancements, advancements and innovation. But of course, the criminals don't stay there, shy, and they will leverage all this new technology, and they see it as, again, an opportunity in order to attack it. So what can we do? And we can do a lot of things. So what we need to do is to make sure that the same digital acceleration that happened on the good side, all the innovation that we have in technology, that there is also acceleration and lots of innovation in the cybersecurity in order to make sure that we can enjoy all those great technology advancements without being a victim to the criminals. So one thing that, a strategy that we find very useful is the zero trust strategy. What does it mean? It means a very healthy and productive paranoia. Don't trust anything. Assume that every part of your enterprise, of the things that you are dealing with, is subject, can be a problem. And I'm talking about devices, whether they are endpoint devices, whether they are IoT devices, whether they are computer, network, application, and identities, and infrastructure, whether the infrastructure is in the cloud or in the home or in on-prem. And most importantly, the supply chain. We cannot assume that if you get sort of a virgin computer or a virgin device, nobody tampered with that before. Therefore, zero trust is essential in order to make sure that we provide a safe world. And with that zero trust philosophy, we have to make sure that we leverage the cloud, which is a major source of power in order to make things secure, and AI. 5 years ago, I wrote an article, The Future of Cybersecurity in the Cloud is in the cloud, and everybody thought that I'm crazy. Now it's clear that without the cloud, we cannot secure the tremendous advancements in technology that we have now. And let's look at some examples and how we do it, at least in Microsoft. So, first of all, you need a lot of data. You need big data, but really data, but it's not really big data, it's a lot of data that will give you information. And for example, we are looking at billions of computers every day, and emails, and meeting summaries, and signals from many sources. Why do we need to look at all those signals? Because we need to make sure that we find sort of the needle in the haystack. And the haystack is huge. But we need all this haystack because all this haystack give us a lot of information that might signify there is an attack. But obviously, to look at trillions of signals, it's impossible to do it manually. That's why we need very sophisticated automation and machine learning, whether it's supervised learning or unsupervised learning. We need to take knowledge, human knowledge, and pack it into digital models in order to make sure that we don't do all this manually. And this smart sort of, it's not really a filter, but this is smart brain that processes all this information can bring those small insights and small information that the human researchers can actually look and discover. You can imagine that there is a huge center for detecting terrorist attacks. And there is a lot of signals coming from all over the world. And obviously, the terrorists will do anything they can in order to hide and to go below the radar. Okay? So we need to do a lot to look at a lot of information, to look at a huge amount of signals, but make sure that this process is happening very fast. Because in a matter of minutes and sometimes seconds, we have to make sure that we act and we stop the criminals. So, in the same way that the world was better after World War II, I think that the world will be much better after COVID-19. I know it's not over yet, but it put a lot of challenges on us, the cybersecurity experts, and all of you together in order to make sure that we enjoy all the great things that the new technology advancement have to offer us. Okay. With that, I will be happy to answer on some questions. So,
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for this amazing talk. I have 2 questions for you. Are you ready for that?
Sure.
Question number 1. What other new technology trends do you see emerging, and what will be their effect on the world?
Okay. So I think one interesting technology trend that it's now emerging is IoB. IoB is Internet of Behaviors. We all know about IoT, Internet of Things. This is still happening. But IoB is the new emerging trend. And it's actually a very interesting trend. It means that our behavior, whether it's detected from the variables that we are using or the way we interact with the computers, the way we interact are learned by the system, and again, it's connected to the internet, and therefore what we get from the new product, from the new generation of the product, will be really tailored for us. So this is great. However, you can imagine if it's how it can be compromised by the criminals or by some people who want to harm us. Therefore, the IOB, Internet of Behaviors, is a great trend that can make the humanity a great place, a much better place, the world a much better place, but we have to make sure that we take care of the privacy, that we take care of all the attack vectors that will attempt to use it in order to harm humans, and not just to make them well.
Very interesting, the Internet of Behaviors. So every new technology creates new opportunities, but new problems like privacy and other things. So let me ask you about that. Following on that, what does Microsoft do to combat cyber threat?
So we do a lot. First of all, we do a lot to secure all our infrastructure, all the clouds that we have, the built-in security that we have in Windows and all the devices, etc. And we also have lots of security products that are all connected together. But what also we do, and remember I talked before about all these trillions of signals, all these trillions of signals that we, because we are Microsoft and we enjoy access to many sources of signals, what we do, we pack them into secure digital models that enables all our products and all our infrastructure and services to be much more secure. So, and of course, we do it with partnership with many other security providers because it's really important that all of us will enjoy all the great things that technology has to offer.
Amazing. Michal, thank you so much. A big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you for this talk and the interesting insights. Thank you.